So I bought the Elgato Prompter, and I'm going to give my thoughts and opinions on this device after having it for a couple weeks now. And before we jump into the actual video, I do want to go ahead and re-emphasize that I purchased this with my own money. I have no sway in Elgato or anything like that. I personally don't like them. If you've been a part of the channel, then you already know that I've talked about this in depth or whatever, as far as me having frustrations with their software when it comes to Wavelink, String Deck, as well as their Face Cam Pros and stuff like that. Been a portion where I had purchased their 4K capture card and didn't know that it was not compatible with either one of my computer's motherboards. I had to dig deep into their actual website to find out what graphics card slots that you needed on your motherboard, what type of motherboard you needed, all that information to find out what was going on. Why was I getting blue screens? And even when I found out that, their PCIe capture card was not compatible with my motherboard, which should be information that's upfront on their purchasing page, but it's not. It's buried behind a whole bunch of pages and stuff like that. And somebody who's a little bit tech savvy like me, I was eventually able to find it, but it took me days to find, and it shouldn't take that long for somebody to find out if your fucking computer component is compatible with other fucking computer components. That's just one small, minute thing that I have a problem with Elgato and companies like them. They won't tell you any potential negatives or anything up front. They just want you to buy their products. And what they do is they go get the big content creators, the streamers who either don't care because there's another paycheck, or they don't know any better because they're not really tech savvy when it comes to computers and streaming and all that stuff. They usually have a friend of a friend or somebody in Discord or somebody who's more tech savvy who can help them set up OBS or set up their channel to stream or edit videos for them and all that stuff. And that's what they're banking on. They're banking on the ignorance from the masses who are trying to get into content creation or already have been doing content creation. And that's why they reach out to the certain partners that they do. But people who know any better will know that everything that's man-made is not perfect. A lot of Elgato's software is just a polished turd. The only downside is that a lot of companies who are trying to copy or emulate Elgato or try to make their own stuff, they're either companies that charge way more than Elgato because they've been in the professional realm talking about making movies or anything like that, TV shows, whatever. So their devices are not necessarily suited for what we're trying to do as content creators or streamers. And on top of that, you're going to have to pay a pretty penny because, again, those are marketed and made for different aspects of like commercial use and jobs and corporate stuff. And then when you look at people who are trying to do stuff for content creators, as far as streamers or people who are recording stuff like that, anything else is going to be below Elgato in polish and everything because they don't have the team, they don't have the funds, whatever, to really make a software as fully fleshed out as Elgato's. So they're just a pieces of shit. But the problem is that Elgato is right there in the same bucket. They're just at the top of the pile and a little bit polished off because wind and weathering over time. So again, that's my stance on Elgato. So to all those who are still here because of the profanity and the way I structure stuff in the beginning, I do apologize, but I just want to go ahead and emphasize that I am just sick and tired of not only Elgato, but other companies and video game developers and just everything in general releasing products that are not fully fleshed out or fully done. And they're expecting people to purchase it and then wait for fixes 2, 3, 4 years down the line to get the product or to get whatever they purchase to be to the actual way it's supposed to have been at launch. And that's the problem. It's like going to the car dealership, purchasing a car, and they're telling you, hey, we'll ship you your rims and your tires. Oh yeah, and the car battery, months down the line. You'll finally get it. You'll get it later. Don't worry about it. You're just purchasing the car right now as is. And that's not obviously acceptable. You wouldn't do that. You know what I'm saying? You would expect to at least have tires, rims, a car battery, fully functioning car and stuff like that when you drive off the lot. And that's the problem with a lot of these manufacturers like Elgato with this product in particular, where in the software, they're expecting you to wait for updates and wait for improvements that should have been at launch. Right now in the software, we have no other chat integration other than Twitch, and it's still in beta. even though the Stream Deck allows you to put commands and type in YouTube chats and stuff like that, and you have third-party plugins to be able to do the same thing that you could do with Twitch and YouTube to Kick and everything. And I understand certain platforms like Kick don't have API that's open. They're still working, at least on Kick side, they're still working to try to get Stream Elements and Streamlabs integrated and stuff. So I know there are sites out there that are not as open as Twitch or YouTube, but at least bare minimum, we should have Twitch and YouTube. Or even if you're saying for whatever reason there shouldn't be a YouTube there, Twitch, or at least the little feature, should not be in beta still. It shouldn't. It's a year plus, if not almost like a year of this product being out. Why is anything in beta? It doesn't make any sense, especially for a device. Again, I might remind you the price point. It's like $270 something, if not close to 300 after tax and stuff. So there's no excuse. There's no excuse. Stop trying to defend a company. I already see people typing in the comments. Stop trying to defend the company. There's no excuse for this price point of this device still having stuff in beta, still having features that are missing that people need when it comes to content creation, especially from what's advertised with this device, and especially if you're advertising this for cameras. And again, not going to touch too much on the Twitch thing because I don't stream on Twitch, but only having that integration, I know several people out there who stream on multiple platforms now. That's popular. People have been doing that for years. Why is only Twitch? Why is there no other integration like Restream or something like that? So at least people can get multi-stream chats or wherever into your actual software. What people have to do now is pop out chats and put it overlaid on the actual prompter. But the problem with doing that is now you don't see what I'm seeing right now. You don't see any of this image. It would just be chat. And there's no way to change the opacity or anything, at least from what I'm seeing, to be able to still see what's on camera. So if somebody says, hey, what about this light behind you? And you try to point to it or wherever, you don't know. So you have to minimize chat and just keep asking them and then pop up chat again. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. It's not fluid. It's not something that's a premium device for this price point to experience. For a content creator who is streaming or doing YouTube or recording, whatever, this is not a premium experience. Not to mention, like I said, this little shroud thing is not a premium experience. You should only have to attach something like this if you're using phone or a GoPro or a webcam. That makes sense. But having lenses that are low in focal length, like 11 millimeters up to, at least from my testing from this lens, which is 11 to 18 millimeters, going all the way up to 15 millimeters, you're still capturing either the sides of the prompter or the tablet if you're going to use one of the step-up rings that are included. And even then, when you slide it on, it pushes your zoom lens back into your camera. So that can cause some damage right there, which nobody is talking about. So even if you're in the focal length or wherever from 16 millimeters, at least APS-C, on up to something else, if you're finding a desired focal length and you have a zoom lens and you try to put it on, depending on how far how big the lens is and how far back you're trying to push the camera and stuff like that, it can potentially damage the motors or the mechanisms in there that let you zoom in and out. I have never seen anybody say that. I almost did that with this lens, and this lens is like around $400. Like, I don't understand. That's something that's a glowing thing that somebody should mention. Nobody's talking about it. The only thing they say is if you're trying to get a smaller focal length or a lower focal length, like 11 millimeters, which is a popular focal length nowadays. I've seen 10 millimeters and stuff like that. You can find the equivalent from APS-C to full frame, but people use those camera lenses and those focal lengths or whatever for in their bedroom. And I particularly for this shot love 11 millimeter lens. I don't really like using the 16 millimeters unless I'm in my living room or I'm in a bigger room that's going to blur out the background more because the back wall is going to be further back and stuff like that. I still like the f1.4, but I have a 11 millimeter f1.8 that I like to use. The 2.8 is yeah, you lose a lot of the bokeh or the background blur, but the 11 millimeter f1.8 is perfectly fine. It's a small lens and everything, but unfortunately, because of focal length, I have to use a little shroud in the back. I have to push the camera all the way up to the actual touching the actual teleprompter lens or the mirror or wherever in order to really get the full aspect of 11 millimeters. And it's just kind of crazy to me that there's just the open back one. There's no, I would say, step-up ring for the back plate that you have for the other step-up rings for normal lenses like 16, 20 millimeter to fit in the back of the prompter. There's nothing. It's like they stopped at 16 millimeter lens, at least for APS-C or the other popular ones for full frame. And they were like, well, people who like using ultra wide lenses, you're just screwed. You just have to use a universal shroud. And then, like I said, you're paying this much money and they already have all the other step up rings inside the box that it comes with, not to mention the back plates and everything. It's like, again, they thought of halfway there in development, made all this stuff, and they didn't go the full length of making other ones for these types of lenses, because again, they've become popular within the last 3 to 4 years. So that tells me right there that this was happening during development. So why did nobody decide to add extra parts or have them extra accessories for sale on their website? Like additional accessories package for those who are in this niche of using smaller zoom lenses and all that stuff. The only thing they say is in their marketing video, which most people probably wouldn't have even seen or even known that's out there, where they tell you just to use the open backplate with the little shroud paper thing over it to compensate for this. Because they talked to other content creators out there to find out that this was a problem for those who like to use ultra wide lenses. It makes no sense to me. Did you not have anybody on the production team that knew about lenses? Which is impossible because they're using step up rings, which are popular for the end of lenses because people use the second glowing thing that they forgot. They use ND filters. What this does is actually control how much light is hitting the lens. And you can see it going darker and going lighter. Now, most people indoors, they'll leave it on ND2, which is right here. They don't like to go any darker. If they go any darker to like ND32, like this one goes from 2 to ND32, they would use that outside and they will control it. And that what that allows you to do is to be able to set up your camera the way it's supposed to be set up for aperture, for ISO, and for shutter speed. So that way you can just control the light. You can still keep the bokeh and the shutter speed and all that stuff correct. And all you have to do is just adjust a little lever. The problem is when you put the step up ring on top of this and you have this little lever sticking out on a variable ND filter, which are very popular and they're very, I would say, inexpensive. They're often cheap or wherever below, I would say $80 or around there. You can find a decent one, wherever variable ND filter, and you can put on the end of your lens. And people know about this because even I, who didn't really know anything about cameras, when I first got the Sony ZV-E10 Mark I, when it first released, and I was looking at lenses and other accessories, ND filters was like one of the very first things that popped up as far as accessory goes for your lens. So that you should know about it if you're making something for cameras to sit on like a prompter. And not only that, you're having step up rings, which only come from ND filters. Another thing that has become popular as of late is having magnetic ones that just pop off the end of the lens and they just attach. What's attaching here is actually a black mist diffusion 1/4. I use a 1/4. I'm thinking about getting a 1.5 and all that stuff, because what it does is allow a little bit of glow to your footage and everything. And you can look it up and see what it does. And that's what I'm using on the Sony ZV-E10 Mark II right now, is a actual ND filter that goes from a variable ND filter that goes from ND2 to ND32 for the Sigma 16 millimeter lens. And it's also applicable to the zoom lens. And it has a black diffusion of 1/4. I'm thinking about upgrading it to a 1/2 for black mist, because I just like white mist and black mist filters. That's my uniqueness or wherever of my shooting and stuff. But if you have one of these that's magnetic and it doesn't have an external, I would say, step up ring thread, then you can't use any magnetic filters. Why is this not accommodated inside the teleprompter? Why is none of these accessories even thought of or mentioned in any marketing material? Why is there no extra accessories that are sold separately to accommodate this? Because again, you have the step up rings, which means you know somewhat about lenses, which means you definitely know about ND filters. Why is this not covered? Why is nobody talking about this? This is something that people do use inside when they're recording content on a camera. What it allows you to do is make sure that your lights are not too bright. You don't have to worry about that because you have the ND filter cutting out the light and everything, and you don't have to change your ISO to accommodate that. You can drop your ISO as low as you want, or maybe adjust the ISO just like up by 1 or 2, and then you have the ND filter that brings it back down and you're still good to go. And again, your lights don't have to be as bright. You don't have to worry about heating up your room or wherever you are. And on top of that, it just saves on money because your lights are not as bright. And it's just an accessory, again, that everybody has nowadays when it comes to doing content, when they go outside and vlog, take photos and stuff, they usually just leave these ND filters on the end of their camera lenses. And if you don't have the filter thread that included in the box to accommodate the ND filter or accommodate the glow mist filters and stuff, because again, content creators are doing that, such as Epos Fox and a Night Owl, if I remember correctly, two of them that work with Elgato and cover this stuff, they use glow mist filters. They use white mist filters. That's what they do. Not all the time is all this stuff being done in editing. Yes, some stuff you can apply, like certain LUTs and all that stuff in editing, but it's just easier just having this on the end of your lens because the effect is already done. You're gonna know how it looks because you're gonna have a field monitor, which leads me to my next aspect. They don't include any aspect from your field monitor into the integration with the software. And what the field monitor allows you to do is have false colors, histograms, waveforms, sometimes zebras, depending, and all that stuff. Those are crucial elements that somebody who's using a camera needs that information to be included inside of their actual device, wherever when they're looking at their picture, when they're recording. Maybe not so much when they're streaming, but even then, some people who stream or wherever are not the gamery Twitch streamer kind of person. If they stream on YouTube and they do this kind of products and stuff like that, they're still going to have a field monitor. The field monitor I use is like a $109 field monitor from Free World, Field World. They sent it out for a review and stuff like that, and I did it like on Instagram and everything. But fantastic monitor, allows you to upload LUTs and all that stuff. You can see how it's going to look with false colors and everything, but that allows you to make sure that your exposure is correct, your lighting's correct, all that stuff. Why not have a system inside the software where I can toggle that on and off or wherever with your Stream Deck or something like that? Because again, that's vital information that somebody's going to have to use. But what we have to do is get third-party plugins or WebSockets that has that integration in OBS, like Nutty, who dropped one not too long ago, but that was a year after the teleprompter already been out. He just put out the video not too long ago. Why is there something like that not already integrated? So you know when you're recording, you have a little red outline, it says recording, or it tells you that you're live streaming. It tells you the OBS information. It tells you your audio levels, your frame rate, all that stuff. Why is none of that inside the software itself? Because again, you're saying that this is marketed for streamers, and you're saying you could use it to record and do all this stuff or wherever. And people keep saying that this is the prompter for everybody. I keep seeing that those videos pop up or whatever. And it's like, no, it's not. This is great, but it's flawed. And again, the flaws between the zoom lenses, the actual ND filters or wherever, accommodating for wide angle lenses, not having the teleprompter have the histograms, the false colors, all that stuff that people need for cameras, and you're building this as a camera accessory, it doesn't make any fucking sense. Because if I'm already going to tie it down to my computer and stuff like that, and yes, you included the cold shoe mounts at the top, but I shouldn't have to do any of that. I should be able to toggle it off and on in the software. The software already has a place for scripts. It already has a place for sizing chat and everything like that. Why not have something like that inside the software? Why do I have to bring it up? I shouldn't have to do that. That should already be implemented inside. The Twitch chat and stuff like that should be multiple different streaming platforms. It shouldn't just be Twitch, and it should still not be in beta. And yes, they're making little improvements or wherever with the scripts, but based off of videos that I've seen, people talking about the scripts and what they're doing as far as updating, that seemed to be half-assed or wherever when it fully launched. Because the stuff that they've been implementing over time seems like stuff that is very important for people who are going to be writing scripts and trying to use this. And it just seems like they're having to get drip-fed improvements and integrations and updates. And it shouldn't be that way. Release the product fully fleshed out and done, not waiting a year or more to get a product that's actually worth the money that you purchased it at the time of purchasing, almost $300. It just doesn't make any sense to me. It really doesn't. And people are defending this, saying again that I've seen videos, people saying that this teleprompter is for everybody. And it's not. It's not the best thing since sliced bread. It has a lot of stuff that's missing and features that are needed to be there. So that's why I would say this device is for 70 to 80% of people out there. It's going to work for those who have maybe the Elgato face cam, or maybe they have some kind of webcam or something like that, and they're recording videos and they're live streaming or wherever, and they want to reach chat and they're doing something like this. But if you're video game streaming and you're just chilling wherever, just have your camera sitting next to your actual monitor or whatever, your vertical monitor for OBS, just have it. There's no reason to get this prompter if you're just streaming or wherever and you want to read chat. I don't have to stare into chat and stare into the retinas and sit there and be like, oh, I'm having a connection with you because I'm reading chat. It's a gimmick. Don't fall for it. It's false marketing. That's all it is, because it's trying to get you to spend money on a device that's not ready. Now, if you're watching this in the future, like 2 years from the release date, maybe 3 years from the release date, check in and see if there's some kind of update or wherever to actually add or implement anything cool, or make sure that somebody else on the actual, I would say in OBS, who develops little web sockets or add-ons and stuff like that, plugins and everything, see if they implemented any of these false colors, or the nutty WebSocket thing or something like that has been implemented to OBS through Elgato or something like that. Just try to find out if this stuff is there, because them not including the false colors, the histograms, uploading LUTs to it or something like that, having a plugin of Nutty, that what Nutty has and stuff like that, or at least Zebras or something, not having a fully fleshed out script system, even though it's slowly getting improvements. It's, to me, in my knowledge, is still not there. I don't write scripts, so I don't know. But the gimmick of having Twitch chat and that's all you can read, you can't even read any other streaming services, or if you're sitting there multi-streaming, you can't read any of the other chats. You're gonna have to drag the popped out chat to this. And if you popped out the chat and you dragged it to your teleprompter, then you're not gonna be able to see what's going on in your room or anything like that. So if somebody asks a question, or you like to look at your setup, that's what I like to do. That's why I have my chat and my screen wherever separate in OBS or wherever, and I still look at my preview in OBS. I don't sit there and disable in preview or anything like that. I like to look at both. So if somebody asks me questions, because I have a different setup, a lot of people ask me about stuff, so I'm able to point to it and interact with them. I can't do that if the chat is blocking my preview of what I'm looking at. It's just not a smooth workflow, and it's just not something that actually fucking makes sense. It really doesn't. It really doesn't. It's just a gimmick. It's just again, you're putting a band-aid on an open gaping wound, just like they did when they came up with the universal shroud for this thing, where for ultra wide lenses. It's not meant to be used that way. It's just like, oh, if you run into this issue and you can't read chat on any other platform other than Twitch, and Twitch beta thing is not working because it's still in beta, it's not fully fleshed out, then just drag your chat over or wherever to this, and then you can read chat. And it's just, it's so stupid, man. It's so stupid. And I just wonder how they're able to get away with something like this, especially charging as much as they are. Because when you're charging over $200, whatever it is, I'm starting to think about, okay, you're kind of getting into premium territory when it comes to streaming and streaming and gaming and all that stuff. That's when I'm like, okay, this is starting to get into premium territory. Now, if it was corporate work or something else or whatever, yeah, this is not premium. You know what I'm saying? Premium would be like $1,000 plus, you know what I'm saying, when it comes to that stuff. But again, it's just, I bring you back to the car analogy. This product was not fully ready to come out yet. It wasn't. And they just did the bare minimum. That's all they did. They did what normal people or normal content creators that it's in 70%, and it was like, oh, do we cover 70 to 80% of the content creators out there? We do. Okay, fully release the product. That's literally what it must have been in discussion. It's just fully release it. So between the software, between the ND filter, the zoom lens stuff that I was talking about, and everything, I only recommend it, like I said, if you have just a basic camera with a basic lens and you're only using a GoPro, your cell phone, another camera, or maybe even Elgato's face cam. If you're in that 70 to 80% of content creators, that's fine. But once you start making some income, once you start getting into the camera realm and you're starting to purchase accessories and you're starting to say, hey, I'm going to need a field monitor to make sure my exposure and everything looks good. I'm going to need these extra accessories like ND filters. Maybe I want to try out glow mist filter, all that stuff. Or maybe I want to get a zoom lens, everything. Like once you start doing and start purchasing that stuff, you're going to outgrow this thing quickly, because again, it's not fully thought out. And that's the problem when you're looking at a device that's almost this much. So unless Elgato in the future can release, you know, products or whatever that you can get like additional accessories for this device, or maybe a combo pack or something like that, that's a little bit more expensive. Unfortunately, that's probably what they'll do because it's fucking Elgato, but that comes with a combo pack or whatever for those accessories built in and everything like that. Unless they do that in the future, there's no really reason to get this device if you're in the market for something like this and you're expecting it to accommodate you as a content creator who's trying to do unique things with their content. Now, for those who are just using a webcam, like I said, the Elgato face cams, the Pro or the regular 1080p, maybe you're using a different webcam, or like I said, maybe an old camera. Maybe you don't have the too many accessories. Maybe you just got a lens and a dummy battery, and that's it. Then by all means, use it. If you're just using it for recording at your desk, then go ahead. But if you're streaming and you're gaming and you only have like a camera, webcam, whatever, and you want to get this device because it looks cool to read chat off of, you don't waste your fucking almost $300. Don't do it. That money is more well spent to getting. Maybe you only have the kit lens for your camera. You can get the Yongnuo 11 or 16 millimeter lens for the price of this, because those lenses are like 298. So save up a little bit more and you can get those lenses, and have something that's going to help you when you go out and vlog and all that stuff, and you have a decent focal length, and it's going to be 1.8 or whatever instead of 1.4 like the Sigma. But the Sigma is obviously more expensive for the 16 millimeter, and then the Sony 11 millimeter lens is like 500 and something, almost 600 and something. So again, you can get decent camera lenses where 11 millimeters, 16 millimeters under $300. That's going to be better for you as a content creator who's trying to do content than getting this thing and you're just having a camera with a kit lens and you're just trying to read chat off of it because you saw it marketed that way. It's not a fluid experience using this device. It's not fully thought out. It's not fully fleshed out. I hope in the future that they can rectify all this stuff by adding, like I said, those accessory kits to accommodate people that won't leave you using this stupid little paper universal shroud shit. Like, actually make something that was made for this device, that was actually thought out, that was actually some thought put into it, instead of, again, putting a band-aid on a gaping wound that needs surgery and stitches just by because it doesn't look good. It doesn't look clean. It doesn't look professional. It doesn't feel like a premium experience. When you're not accommodating like all these other accessories and you're telling me that this is for cameras and you're telling me this is a prompter for everybody and does all this cool stuff, and I'm like, okay, software wise, recording wise, it does what I need to do. It lets me look at all my different camera angles and stuff. Thankfully, because of somebody else in the community came up with the idea, like Nutty, like I said, with the outline of everything or wherever, it enhances my stuff. But what am I getting from the manufacturer itself? What am I getting from the company itself? And when I'm looking at what I'm getting here with this device from Elgato, I'm starting to look at, why can I use an 11 millimeter lens? Why do I have to do this DIY ghetto rigging or wherever to be able to complement the lens? Why is there no accommodation for ND filters, variable ND filters, glow mist filters, magnetic stuff that's out there? There's plethora from so many different companies. They're so popular within the camera space. It makes me wonder, do you even know anything about fucking cameras? Because I don't know anything about fucking cameras. And I know zoom lenses, the ND filters, the glow mist filters, I know those exist. So if somebody doesn't fucking know anything, knows they exist, then what that makes you? You know what I'm saying? And then, like I said, not having the actual histograms and the waveforms and the false colors or wherever that people need for content creation, and when they're using cameras, it just makes me again say, why does this device cost so much? But at the end of the day, I can still see who this is for. I can still see that, again, 70 to 80% of the people who are probably going to pick this up or looking at it, it can still accommodate. It's just, as soon as they make any kind of improvements with their content creation, upgrading to the camera, anything like that, they're going to realize that, hey, this device maybe shouldn't have cost this much. With all that being said, hopefully I was able to articulate my speech in a way that makes you understand my frustrations with this, from the software and the lack thereof in the software to the actual device itself. Yeah. And I guarantee you, Elgato's not going to take the feedback. I guarantee you, any of the Elgato partners that see this video, they're not going to take the feedback. They're not going to do anything to actually improve the overall user experience or the end user experience, because all they care about is Elgato release another product, shut up and consume product. That's all they care about. With that being said, y'all take care. Have a squid-tastic day. God bless you and yours. And deuces, everybody. Much love. And for those who keep saying that my hate for Elgato is ripe and is still plentiful, yes, it is. As long as companies like Elgato, Beacon, all that stuff keep on releasing products that are half-assed and not fully fleshed out, and you have to wait for update, 2-3 years from now in order to make it actually worth the price. And if we keep getting these products that are way overpriced, which I believe, like I've said before, I don't think that this product is overpriced. I just think it's missing a lot of key features that should have been implemented with the device at launch, because I can see the potential. I can see after the updates and all that stuff in the future, it's definitely going to be a good bargain or wherever for what it can do. I just wish that at launch, for the price that they're asking, even a year later, that this stuff should have been there. With all that being said, y'all take care. Have a squid-tastic day. God bless you and yours. And deuces, everybody. Much love.